And welcome everybody to the Geeking Poetic Channel. I'm one of your hosts, Larry Roberts. This girl all dolled up in pink and red over here to my right and your left is my co-host and none other than
Megan Guess.
And Meg, what are we here to talk about today?
We are here to talk about one of my favorite things. Yeah. Maybe not so much yours, but we are here to celebrate Valentine's Week and with some rom-coms.
Yeah, yep. We're going to talk about some rom-coms. So no, if you're thinking that you're going to get some heavy metal album talk or some toy talk or cartoons or any of the stuff that I normally talk about, nope, we're not doing that this time. We're going to talk about rom-coms. I do like some rom-coms. I mean, I think there's some really good ones out there. Although it is a pretty wide spectrum of movies that fall into the rom-com category here and stuff. But I do really enjoy certain ones that I thought could work for this whole thing. We haven't done a top 5 in quite a while now.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Yeah, so we just thought it'd be kind of fun to do the first proper top 5 of 2025. And before we get into it, of course, we want to let everybody know to please like and subscribe, leave comments. We're going to want to know not only what you think of our top 5 favorite rom-coms, but what are your favorite ones? Make sure you let us know in those comments below. But you know what? Before we get into the whole listing, I think we ought to let people know that we personally had to put some parameters on ourselves. You especially, we had to put some parameters on because honestly, folks, when Megan came up with this whole idea and I was like, oh, okay, well, what do you think, what are you thinking about would be some of the movies you talk about? I'm pretty sure that at first you came up with around 40 or 50 movies.
Easy.
Yeah, at least because you like a lot of these movies.
I do.
I'm
such a girl.
You are. It was a little bit tougher for me, but yeah. Speaking for myself, so I didn't put any like major parameter on myself, other than I knew that it had to be a little bit more leaning towards the ridiculous comedy side of things because. Honestly, I like a lot of really romantic movies. Like, I like some old school romance kind of stuff, I like Somewhere in Time and, Gone with the Wind and things like that. I like the old school romance stuff. Or I tend to like really silly comedy stuff. So finding the perfect balance for me was tough, but I think I managed to do that.
Pull it off?
Yeah, I have a feeling a lot of my choices are not going to be the typical top 5 for a lot of you out there.
Oh boy.
Yeah, well,
no. We're in for a treat, guys.
Yeah, you really are. Megan, what about you? I know you had to set some parameters.
I did. I had such a hard time with this, and still even 5 I chose, putting them in order was impossible. I'm still changing my mind as we speak.
She's not kidding. She literally just changed the order around yet again.
I did.
Like an hour ago. So
yeah. And I'm still thinking if that's right or not. But
you're stuck with it now.
Yeah. I had to at least knock out like romantic comedy adventure because that's my big one.
Yeah. So.
And I think that could be one all by itself.
Yeah. So no Romancing the Stone.
No Lost City.
Yeah. None of that. Those kind of things. If they're based on like adventure romance novel type stuff, you wouldn't do it.
Exactly.
That's going to be.
I'm going to save that.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's going to be its own category. Yeah, and I'm down with that because I like a lot of those movies too. So that's going to be a fun one. We'll definitely have to do.
Maybe next year. That's our goal.
Yeah, maybe next year if not sooner. But all right, yeah. Without any further ado, let's just get into our countdown. All right. You want to go with your number 5?
Number 5.
All right, so my number 5, I had to go with Gerard Butler.
Okay.
Yum, yum.
Oh, boy.
And Katherine Heigl.
Uh-huh.
Love her. I know she's a lot, but I love her.
She is a lot, yeah.
I went with 2009, The Ugly Truth.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, let's check this out.
So in this film, she is a TV exec who believes in true love and self-help. And he is a TV show host who is very crass and cynical about relationships. And before too long, they find out that the TV station plans to put the two of them together on her show despite both of their objections. She winds up meeting a guy that she actually really likes, and so a deal is struck where if Gerard Butler's character Mike can help her land her dream guy, then she will lay off and accept him on her show. But if he fails, then he has to walk. Well, needless to say, they wind up finding feelings for each other while also trying to fight it off due to their supposed differences and ideals. I just love the situations that they find themselves in, and the fact that she's so straight-laced and he's such an incredible dick winds up making it a very awkward pairing, but they still have great chemistry, and I found myself really rooting for them. I just love all the ridiculous nature of it all. It just cracks me up.
Yeah, it sounds like a funny movie. I admit I've never seen this one before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so from the description, it actually sounds like it could be pretty funny.
Yeah, you get some laughs out of it, I'm sure.
I mean, Gerard Butler being in a rom-com, I at first you bring that up and I'm like, okay, that seems kind of weird. But then when I
he's so
hear
good in them.
Yeah, when I hear about this kind of character, I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. If he's a little over the top and kind of a dick, it's really fun to watch him.
Yeah, I bet. All right, cool. So that's your number 5.
It is.
Okay, so my number 5 is a movie that goes back a little ways, actually. I think it's the oldest one that's on my list. It goes back to the early 1990s. And it is a little film that a lot of people seem to have forgotten, but not me, known as Benny and June. So this is a film that I actually saw in the movie theater back when it came out, and it stars Mary Stuart Masterson as June and Aidan Quinn as her brother Benny, as well as an up-and-coming star known as Johnny Depp playing the character of Sam. It's a quirky movie about how Benny has dedicated his life to taking care of his sister June, who has struggled with mental and emotional problems since childhood. And after their parents' deaths, he basically started taking care of her. Now, Johnny's character, Sam, is an eccentric and illiterate young guy who ends up taking a liking to June and vice versa. And the main romantic plot of the film is basically about those two falling for each other in their own odd, quirky kind of way. While Benny struggles to deal with him losing his control and grip over June and being faced with having to lead his own life for once, and he's also starting to fall in love himself with Julianne Moore's character. Now, there is some drama to this story, but I wouldn't classify this as a rom-com drama. I think overall it's fairly lighthearted, and it has this kind of silly and odd quality to it that's definitely very 90s. And it's interesting because I think in some ways this movie gets overlooked a bit today. But Depp is fantastic with his portrayal of Sam and all his little antics that he does. And there's some great quotes and gags that have stuck with me all these years later. So yeah, Benny and June is one of those that actually sticks with me till this day. And yeah, it's definitely one of my favorites.
Depp is just so good at playing quirky characters.
Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously, yeah. I mean, by this point, we had already seen him in things like Edward Scissorhands. But I just really liked the innocent nature of his character in this.
Yes.
And just the way he and June juxtapose against each other and everything. It's great. There's still like little things that he says and does in this movie that I still do from time to time because I'm a dork. And yeah, it's a really good movie. If you haven't watched this one in a while, or if you've never seen it, I definitely recommend it. It's a little bit of a forgotten Johnny Depp classic.
Yeah, hidden classic there.
Yeah.
Number 4.
How about your number 4?
My number 4, I went with 2003.
Okay.
Kate Hudson.
Oh.
Matthew McConaughey.
Oh boy. I know what this one is.
How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
All right. Yeah, let's check it out.
So in this one, she works for a woman's magazine and he works for an ad agency. He's trying to land a big account with a diamond company. So on a bet from his competitive coworkers, he has to make a woman fall in love with him and prove that he's passionate and worthy of this new account. Meanwhile, her boss at the magazine challenges her to write an article on how to do all the wrong things in a relationship that will absolutely drive away a man for sure. So naturally, these two wind up finding each other, not knowing about each other's true motivations, and find themselves in one of the most ridiculously complicated relationships imaginable. Given how he's trying so hard to stick with her, even though she's intentionally doing doing crazy things to drive him away. Of course, in true fashion, once they learn about each other's true intentions, all hell breaks loose. But naturally, true love saves the day in the end. It's a ridiculous story with some hilarious scenarios. And Kate and Matthew are just such a perfect pairing in these kind of movies. I just love them together.
Yeah.
Not to mention the yellow dress in this movie is to freaking die for. Oh my gosh, I love this dress.
Of course, a dress or shoes would have to factor into this somehow, right?
Absolutely.
Oh boy.
Love it.
Yeah, honestly, I know this is a really popular movie. I've seen pieces of it. I've never sat down and watched this whole movie.
Oh, you should give it a shot.
Yeah, you know, I would, because I really like both of them. Kate Hudson's great. Matthew McConaughey's great. This sounds like a pretty far cry from Almost Famous and Dazed and Confused,
Yes.
which are two of my favorite movies.
Not your typical go-to for romantic comedies, right?
but it sounds like it works.
It does. Absolutely. I mean, Kate and Matthew together, Fool's Gold would be my top choice for them.
Ah, Fool's Gold.
But again, adventure, so I had to kick it out of there.
No, that'll have to
But
wait.
I still got them in there.
Yeah, you still squeezed them in there somehow.
I sure did.
All right, cool. That's a good number 4. All right, well, my number 4 is actually a film that most people would expect to be on like a holiday films list,
Okay.
because it's considered a holiday film, but to me, this is a movie I could watch all year round. I don't care if it's set during a certain holiday. I think it's just a great rom-com, and it's an ensemble one at that. I'm talking about 2003's Love Actually.
Should have saw that coming.
Yep. Okay, so Love Actually is one of those films where they have several different story plots that are all happening at the same time, each one focusing on characters who are experiencing different relationship situations. Some happy and some not so good. But in the end, all of the characters in the stories somehow kind of just become intertwined. And it's really cool at the end to see how it all fits together. So first of all, it's crazy seeing Alan Rickman and Emma Thompson play husband and wife, and not just automatically thinking it's weird because Professor Snape and Professor Trelawney are married. That's just weird for any, Potterverse fan like myself out there. But it's kind of cool too. Not to mention you also have the Minister of Magic with Bill Nighy playing the aging belligerent rock star, which is great. Plus you have Walking Dead's Andrew Lincoln in here, and all sorts of other incredible actors like Colin Firth, Liam Neeson, and Laura Linney. But my favorite story is probably the Hugh Grant one, with him playing the Prime Minister. Hugh tends to basically have one character that he plays in every movie, which is ultimately just Hugh Grant playing himself, but it's a great character and it works great for these kind of movies. Yeah, this is just a fun movie with some nice romantic notions. And while the movie is not exactly rooted in reality, like most other rom-coms out there, it takes a stretch, but I think the heart of it all and most of the stories that are here are things that we can relate to. And it's a movie that's got a lot of really good heart to it. And yeah, I just really enjoy this one. I watch this one anytime it's on. It doesn't just have to be, I know it's based in Christmas time, but it's not a holiday movie to me. No. I think you might have one of these kind of movies on your list
actually
too. So fair enough. We each get one pass on that. This is my holiday rom-com that I'm slipping in here. But yeah, if you haven't seen Love Actually, I definitely think you should check it out. You've seen this before, right?
I have. Yes, it's an excellent choice, because I think we've all been in each of these parts of a relationship. They're all kind of at different stages, and we've all been there, done that. So
yeah,
we connect with them that way.
Right. Yeah, there's something for everybody to relate to in here. Some of them, the idea that some people can relate to some of these stories is kind of scary. But yeah, there's all, there's the love triangles and all, and falling in love at work, and troubled relationships and familial problems getting in the way of relationships. It covers all of that ground in here, and yeah, I think that's what makes it interesting, and it's just a great cast.
It is.
You can't go wrong. So
excellent choice.
Yep, that's my choice.
Number 3.
All right, so my last one, I talked about Kate Hudson, right?
Right.
Well, this time I'm going to stick with that whole family thing you were just talking about in your last one. And I'm going to go with her mom, Goldie Hawn.
Yes.
And stepdad, Kurt Russell.
Yes.
In 1987, Overboard.
Okay, that's the one you chose. All right, let's check this out.
Well, in this crazy film, Goldie's character Joanne is this rich, obnoxious bitch who treats everyone terribly. Not least of all Dean, played by Kurt Russell, who is a widower with 4 kids hired to do a job for her. Not long after she screws him out of his money, she winds up going overboard on her yacht and winds up in the hospital with amnesia. Her greedy husband decides to take advantage of this and tells everyone that she left him so that he can get her money and be a bachelor again. Dean, however, goes and brings her home from the hospital and tells her and everyone else that she is in fact his lost wife and the mother to his kids. He initially puts her to work and makes her be a housewife as a form of revenge. But after a rough start, she starts to really become a different person and they find feelings for each other. She winds up getting her memory back and goes back to her asshole husband and her greedy mother, but finds that she is now a different person and had a happier life with Dean and his kids. From there, things really get crazy, and this movie is just a hilarious mix of romance, comedy, and people learning life lessons and learning how to be better people.
Yeah, it's funny that you wound up putting a Kate Hudson movie and then a Goldie Hawn movie.
I didn't mean to, it just happened.
It just kind of turned out that way.
Yeah.
Well, this is one that I have seen, although it's been quite a while since I've seen it. Man, I got to be honest with you. When I was younger, especially when I was like a teen, I loved Goldie Hawn. I was just so infatuated with her and her movies. She had a lot of great movies in the 1980s.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah, she had, and they had Bird on a Wire.
Oh my gosh, I love that one. I forgot about that one.
Yeah, so I wasn't sure if you might be mentioning something like that, although that would be a little bit more adventurous, I guess. Yeah. But she had that, and she had other movies like Private Benjamin, and she had Wildcats about the football team. That was one of my favorites. Yeah, so I am totally in agreement with you on this one. Didn't make my list, but yeah, this is a really good one. And another one kind of like Benny and June that I think is a little bit of a lost gem.
Forgotten.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is when if it's on, I got to put it on.
Okay.
I will stop and watch it every time.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this is a good one. So Overboard, yep. I'm on board with Overboard.
Nicely done.
Oh boy, yeah, that was super cheesy. But so are rom-coms. So I'm just staying.
That's why we're here.
Yeah, I'm just staying in the theme, right? That's all it is. All right, so my number 3.
Oh, no. That's worrying, guys.
It just gets better and better. My number 3 is a movie with a quirky title that actually probably worked against it, and it's not something people at first sight would automatically go, oh yeah, that sounds like a rom-com to me. But it is a movie from good old Kevin Smith.
Oh no.
From 2008, starring Seth Rogen and Elizabeth Banks, known as Zack and Miri Make a Porno. Well, I think it goes without saying that this movie right off the bat turned a lot of people off because of its title. And I think nowadays people probably wouldn't be so jarred by it, but back in 2008, it certainly didn't give people a lot of confidence that this wasn't going to be too raunchy for them. But honestly, the movie is just about 2 friends, Zack and Miri. They've known each other for life, and they're roommates now who have had little to no luck in their respective romantic lives. And when they find themselves broke and about to be homeless, they get really desperate for how to stay alive and make money. And of all the things they come up with, they decide that they're going to become adult film producers. Obviously, they have no idea what they're doing, but they decide to enlist a bunch of goofy friends and some random strangers to help them make this no-budget, dirty movie. And everything from the start just goes completely sideways for them, of course. Not least of which, when Zack and Miri discover in the midst of making this that they are actually falling for each other, even though they keep trying to fight it due to their lifelong friendship as well as the complications it's making for producing this movie. And some of the usual suspects from Kevin Smith's Askewniverse are here, like an over-the-top Jason Mewes and Jeff Anderson. And with appearances by people like Tracy Lords and comedian Craig Robinson, there are plenty of hilarious parts. But at the heart of it all is a pretty sweet and romantic story as well. And yeah, I get it. I realize this isn't quite your typical rom-com fare. This isn't something you're going to find on the Hallmark Network or anything like that.
No, absolutely.
But, it's got its raunchiness to it and everything. But regardless of the title, Zack and Miri Make a Porno is actually a really sweet romantic movie about 2 friends that fall in love ultimately. And and the importance of friendship in general, because everybody in this movie kind of bands together. At first, obviously, under the guise of having to make this movie, but ultimately it's because they all end up really caring about each other and caring about the welfare of each other, not least of which Zach and Mary's welfare. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's a sweet movie, but in typical Kevin Smith, fashion, it's on this completely fucking off the wall premise. It's actually a pretty sweet movie. Although, ironically, there is a fair amount of male nudity in it, care of Jason Mewes, go figure, because he has no shame. But, so anyway, that's my number 3.
Yeah, I checked this out because I think you guys talked about it.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, let me go ahead and check this out, because I had no interest because of the title. I was like,
right.
I don't know if I want to watch that.
Yeah, it's not one of those movies like Boogie Nights where it's kind of, the darker, seedier side of like porno movies or anything like that.
No.
Nothing like that at all.
Very lighthearted and fun.
Yeah, and it's very bumbling and ridiculous.
Yes.
So anyway, yep, that's my number 3.
Number 2.
All right, so my number 2, I'm coming back to the future, to 2006. I guess it's back to the whatever.
Yeah,
but
back
anyway,
to the future, past, whatever. Yeah,
whatever it is. And I'm going back again to Matthew McConaughey.
Oh boy, you're gonna put two of them in here.
I can't help it.
Wow.
But this time he's with Sarah Jessica Parker.
Okay.
In Failure to Launch. So the premise of this film is that Matthew's character Trip is a grown man who lives comfortably with his parents and absolutely refuses to move out and be on his own, to their dismay. So they find Paula, whose profession is getting men to fall for her and teach them how to have self-esteem and learn to be out on their own. Paula ends up taking on the job, even though she thinks Trip maybe doesn't exactly seem to totally fit the normal type that she works with. They start dating, and he winds up trying to push her away at one point, but she refuses to let that happen. And eventually, they both wind up genuinely falling for each other. But you also learn more about each character. Like, the reason he refuses to move on his own is because his fiancée had died, and he was traumatized. And she only pursues her job because she had her heart broken before by a man who happened to live with his parents. So, you've got the usual secret motivations and the total misunderstandings that tend to keep people apart.
Always.
But you also have the side story happening with the supporting cast who I love. Featuring Zooey Deschanel falling for Justin Bartha from another favorite of mine, National Treasure. Plus, Bradley Cooper's in there as well. It's another great one featuring Matthew, and he's absolutely great paired up with Sarah. And this is just a great ensemble where I enjoy most of the characters, not just the main couple. There's just a lot of good laughs in this one, and it has a really good heart to it, and that's why I have to rank this one so high.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, it sounds cool. I've never seen this.
No? Okay.
I'm not sure. I'm trying to think if I've even heard of this one, to be honest with you. Yeah. And you would think I would with that kind of cast in it and everything.
Yeah.
Because I love Zoe, I love her and everything. And, Bradley Cooper, Sarah, I'm a big Sarah Jessica Parker fan. Yeah, I'm definitely going to check this one out at some point because...
I'll make you.
Okay, you're going to force me.
Yep. It's going to happen.
You guys are going to beat me over the head with it. Watch this goddamn movie.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I want to check it out, so it better be good.
Oh, it is.
We'll see. All right, so my number 2 on the list is probably the most well-known one out of all the movies that I chose.
Okay.
And it's one that was very influential, I feel, to a lot of the movies in this genre that came after it, because this movie was just so unique for its time and over the top in a lot of ways. Of course, I'm going to pick an over the top one. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about one from 1998, and that is There's Something About Mary. Let's check it out. I mean, yeah, most people watching this are probably at least familiar with it or have at least seen parts of this film before. But I think a lot of people know this film, and for good reason, because there's so many memorable, hilarious scenes and quotable dialogue, and the cast does a great job of portraying these off-the-wall characters who are all surrounding poor Mary and Ted in their lives. Both played excellently by Cameron Diaz and Ben Stiller, respectively. And ultimately, they're the only two decent people in the whole damn film, really. Now, Ted had a brief but doomed interaction with Mary back during high school, and ever since then, he's been estranged from her, and he suddenly at one point, while in therapy, gets the idea that maybe he should seek her out and see if he can, try to close a difficult chapter in his life. And of course, he also is thinking about maybe there's a chance that he could really reconnect with her. Well, everyone around him treats like he's acting like a total stalker. While meanwhile, the funny thing is, it turns out that all of them are in fact the actual stalkers. Matt Dillon and Chris Elliott do a fantastic job being total weirdos in this film. And honestly, Cameron Diaz does an excellent job portraying Mary. And I'll tell you, I don't think Cameron Diaz really gets the credit that she deserves. I think she's awesome.
Yeah, she is.
And especially in roles like this, she adds like this quirky sweetness without seeming like, I don't know, like she's not like a
fake.
Yeah, she doesn't seem fake. She actually seems pretty genuine in this movie, even though in a lot of ways she's almost too good to be true. But again, it's a rom-com.
Yep.
And then there's ridiculously hilarious cameos from people like Harland Williams and Sarah Silverman. Honestly, I have to admit, I can relate somewhat to Ted in this movie because of all the ridiculously bad luck that he has. And that whole thing of somehow just the worst possible thing happening at the worst possible moment. Yeah, I know all about that kind of stuff. You've heard some of my stories. You've heard the stories. Yeah, keep laughing, fuzzball. Anyway, this movie, it's great. It's really funny. It's got good heart to it. It's got a nice ending. And yeah, it's one of those movies for the lovable losers. So yeah, I think this is a great movie. I watch it all the time, or at least whenever I get the chance anymore. I still like watching this one.
Yeah, I forget about this one. I've seen it maybe once.
Oh my gosh,
but it was really good. I don't know why I haven't
Just
seen
once?
it again. Yeah.
Oh, this movie is,
It's ridiculous and funny.
There is so much ridiculous shit that happens in this movie, but it is really, really funny. And like I said, it's nice that the two main characters are actually like genuinely good people. Ben Stiller's character, I mean, he's a dope at times, and he makes a couple of really bad decisions here and there, but never in like a malicious or shitty way. You know, he's a good-hearted person that's just trying to make sense out of the life he's had so far. And yeah, it's a good one. So if you haven't seen this, or if you haven't seen it in a while like you, definitely check out There's Something About Mary. I mean, the movie's almost 30 years old, but I think it still holds up.
Yeah, good choice.
Number 1.
All right, so we are now at our number ones.
All right, so this one is the newest one on my list, but it's also the most watched one on my list right now.
Okay.
Most binge-worthy for me. It's
Yeah.
from 2020. Emma Roberts, Luke Bracey, Holidays. So here, Emma Roberts plays Sloane, a 30-something woman who is tired of dealing with her family, who is insistent that she find new love and settle down. During a chance encounter at the mall, she meets Jackson, played by Luke Bracey, and they wind up making a deal that they can be each other's holidays, basically pretending to be together in order to appease other people who think they shouldn't be alone, or just to make social situations less awkward. While the two of them seem to constantly find themselves being combative and fighting off developing feelings, they do keep running into each other, and they make the whole holiday thing a regular occurrence. This movie has some ridiculous situations that happen to each of them, showing that both of them tend to be lovable losers in their own right. And while of course they try to deny any genuine feelings for each other, in the end, love conquers all, even in the face of adversity, and the large number of ridiculous accidents and situations that they keep finding themselves in.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Everything from accidental laxatives to
Blowing up fingers.
Yeah, fireworks and so many other things going wrong. Yeah, it's another, again, yeah, it's typical ridiculous rom-com fare.
Absolutely.
But I have to admit, I did sit down and watch this movie.
Okay.
Because you guys had it on and you kept going on about how great it was, and it was a must watch. And at first I did the typical guy thing where I was like, oh, I don't care about this. And then 15 minutes later, I was like, this is just so stupid. Like, oh, I don't get it, blah, blah, blah. And then half an hour later, I was like, wait a minute. I don't understand. And then like an hour into it, I was just totally invested and I wasn't going anywhere because...
See, it sucks you in.
Yeah, it's pathetic.
Even with all its silly tropes, you can't help it.
Well, Emma Roberts is great in it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, she was perfect for this kind of role.
Yeah, the two of them together feeding off each other, combating. Oh my gosh.
This is a good movie. I don't know if I would put this at the number one, but I know you love this movie.
I've watched it many, many times recently.
Recently, even.
I need more than 2 hands.
Wow.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, you are
so cute.
You are the queen of rewatch.
I am.
You get.
If I find something, man, I'm hooked. I'm watching it over and over again.
Yes, you do that. That is true. But all right, wow, that's your number one. Okay,
and that's I'm dying to know.
Yeah, and that's your holiday.
That's
one.
my holiday cheat.
Yeah, you got that. You got that one, and I got Love Actually. All right, so my number one is one that I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with. It's pretty popular. It's another one from 1998, and for me, the one that I was going to put at number one, I like all these movies almost equally, I'll be honest with you. The ones in my top 5, you probably say the same.
Yeah.
But the one that had the most rewatch potential and that I've rewatched the most over the years, and the one that I can, again, sadly relate to the most, because the relating thing is important, I think, in movies like this, for me at least. Of course, it would have to do with a musician and a guy that's in some ridiculous gig situations and stuff. Yeah, I'm talking I'm talking about Adam Sandler's The Wedding Singer. Aside from me liking Adam Sandler's character because he's somebody I can relate to as a guy who sings in a band, has a bunch of ridiculous gigs that he does, I just find the main characters in this movie to be actually really good, likable characters that you wind up enjoying and rooting for. And unlike the last movie, there's no stalking or shady intentions here. Adam Sandler's character Robbie winds up befriending Julia, played by Drew Barrymore, who asks him to sing at her upcoming wedding. He agrees, even though he's still dealing with a broken heart after his fiance ditched him at the altar. But he and Julia become close friends. And you know what? He's not creeping on her and she's not creeping on him. They become legitimate friends. But also, eventually, they do realize that they're starting to hide some deeper feelings from each other, which really becomes an issue when her fiance Glenn turns out to be like the king of all creeps. And yeah, seriously, like they go totally overboard, making Glenn just...
That's an understatement.
Such a slimy jerk, like the quintessential mid-80s slimy Miami Vice loving jerk, right? But, they do that so that not only so it justifies the romance that's starting to brew between Robbie and Julia, but also so we'll root for them more. I get it. I understand the tropes, but nonetheless, it is pretty over the top. Additionally, this movie's got an excellent 80s soundtrack. There's so many great songs in here, and along with that, there are so many good quotable lines from this movie. And anybody who knows me well enough can attest to that, because I am constantly quoting this movie.
They were cones!
And overall, this is just the one that I find myself not only relating to the most, but it's the one I return to the most. If it's on TV, if it's on whatever TBS or whatever stations that show this stuff, if I see it, I will stop and watch it. Especially if it's on some of my favorite scenes, I have to do it. It's just a really nice movie. It's a really good feel-good movie. If I'm wanting to watch something that's just going to put me in like a warm, fuzzy type of place that I know I'm going to snicker at and have a bunch of laughs to myself about, and hear a bunch of great songs and get to see a cameo from Billy Idol. This is a great one. I love The Wedding Singer. This is not just my favorite rom-com movie, but it's definitely one of my favorite movies of all time, one of my favorite comedies, whatever. I think this is a really good movie that, a lot of people seem to like this one, and I think it's well-deserved.
Yeah. I only just recently saw this one.
Oh, gosh, really?
Yeah. Again, because you guys kept talking about it, I was like, all right, let me give this a shot. Yeah. It is very, very cute. And I could definitely see how you relate, especially with all the band stuff.
Oh, gosh.
And all the stuff they go through.
Yeah.
Like, I could see that.
It's just a lighthearted, good movie. And, I recommend it. If you haven't seen that one, don't be like her and wait 25 years to finally see it. Yeah. Check out The Wedding Singer.
Excellent choice.
All right, and that's it, man. That is our top 5 favorite rom-coms. Now, just like any other ranking type video that we do on this channel, first of all, this is just our personal taste. Yes. We're not trying to say these are the greatest films ever made or these are the most, whatever, the most popular or the most successful. It's nothing to do with that. These are just the ones that we tend to return to the most and watch the most frequently and with the most laughs and the best heart to them. So,
Yeah. I'm sure we'll hear about leaving some major ones.
Oh,
off.
I'm sure there's a
Harry
ton
Met
of them.
Sally. And,
Right, yeah. There's all the Billy Crystal ones, or the Tom Hanks ones. There's all the classic ones. No, I think those are great too, but they're not ones that I personally find myself returning to and watching. You know, when Harry Met Sally is a great movie. I think it's awesome, and it's kind of iconic in a lot of ways.
It just had a commercial rebirth.
Yeah, they did, but honestly, I can't say that I've gone back and watched When Harry Met Sally anywhere near as many times as I've gone back and watched There's Something About Mary. It's just my personal taste. So it's the way it goes. But we want to know yours.
Yes.
Let us know what your choices are. What are your personal tastes when it comes to these kind of movies? And leave comments. Again, we appreciate y'all checking us out. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, hit that bell so you know we have more content coming. And yeah, she loves you for it if you'll do it. So yeah, we'll be back soon. We're going to be doing more of the top 5 kind of stuff. We've got things we're going to be talking about soon about some Disney stuff. I've got plenty more of the rock music videos, rankings, and all that rock history stuff. It's got more toy stuff. That's what we do here at Geeking Poetic Channel. We cover all the things that we geek out about. So, and this is just another one of those things. So we will be back soon. And yeah, thanks for checking us out. Everybody take care.
Bye, guys.
See ya. Good grief.